So in part 1, we wanted to see which optic setup was the most user-friendly while wearing and using night vision goggles. Some optic configurations are great for daytime use only, and some are great if night vision is your priority. We wanted to see what is the best for both day and night, so that even if you don't own night vision yet, you could at least set up your rifle now and start getting good with it, so that when you do get night vision, you don't have to change your setup and learn everything all over again. We'll go through all of the setups first with a pvs-7 Gen 2 green phosphorus nod, which is a cheap way to enter into the night vision game if you're on a budget. After this, Hollywood will test each setup under his RNVG Gen 3 white phosphorus dual tube setup and let us know how quick and intuitive each setup is from his perspective. This isn't necessarily about it being possible to use, rather is it fast and forgiving in a high-stress situation without having to mold yourself to the optics restrictions. The weather tonight is super cloudy with no moon or stars visible, so we should get some accurate thoughts for you. Up first is the 1:6 AccuPoint LPVO with the canted RMR to the rear on the high Arasaka plate.
The AccuPoint with, so I gotta pinch my jaw down to get it right there. That's not bad. It's a little finicky when I go left and right. Right there I have a picture, but it gets blurry because of the body of the RMR. Ooh, I don't even see how close I am right there, but
you're about 1/8 of an inch off the back of the RMR from your tube.
Yeah, that actually works, but it's still blurry. This body being too close is causing the blur. Let me check the AccuPoint. So this 2:1 being centered here definitely is causing problems lining up with the optic, because the optic wants to stay right here.
I figured it would.
And I'm trying to smash my head to the center point.
Those kind of peaked when everyone was using lasers like strictly like active aiming, because they'd be fine under active aiming. If you're running like a PEC or whatever and you're just running it that way, they'd be fine. A pvs-7 is not really going to be ideal with most optics in general.
So this AccuPoint, absolute dog shit with pvs-7s. Unusable every way.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do. LPVO, trash. So it sounds to me like this is somewhat barely doable. I'd say 20% out of 100. 20% rough. I'd say an emergency, but once I find the dot, the body being this close right here makes too much of a blur to see the actual surrounding environment. I can see the dot fine, but this close frickin' RMR is causing way too much blur. So rear RMR, not truly usable, at least with the pvs-7. We'll find out with the RNVG's duals if it does or not.
Now I wanted to test the Acog passively through the higher unity mount from my previous video I released.
So I'm instantly hitting even the middle. So even though it's a pvs-7, I can come up beside it, but surprise, I can't see shit. Middle. Ooh, there it is. Yeah, let me try a cant. So this pvs-7 does not get low enough or in line. By the time I bend my neck down to get the center in line, it's looking diagonally through the optic and I can't use the reticle. So let's try. Yeah, I see the reticle. I see some objects, but it's too much of a blur. pvs-7, Acog unity mount, trash.
Up next, I wanted to try an absolute height XPS2 GWatt style.
I mean, early GWatt, I mean, you gotta think 101 guys, all the fast light infantry dudes, 82nd, all running EOTech 512s under nods. They did have some pvs-7s, but they also had pvs-14s, single eye. You know, they get all the cool shit first. EOTech. Make sure she's on. Yeah, let's turn it down. A lot of people don't know that you don't need the night vision version of an EOTech for it to work. You can actually turn the brightness all the way down and it still works. So let's see. So if I cinch down and cant the rifle diagonal, I can get the reticle in my view. Problem is this is the absolute co-witness. It's not even the 1/3. So I really got to cinch this 7 down to the stock at an angle. I can see it's usable, but I would not trust it. it's a little hard. The angle is causing a little bit of the body to give a blur to the background, so I can't see the surrounding environment as good as I can the reticle. A little closer, there. This is about the distance I have to be on the EOTech to be able to actually use it to get rid of the body blur, to make it usable. 1/3 co-witness, you need at least 1/3. At least 1/3 with a pvs-7. Duals may be a different story, but I would venture to say 193 for sure with a pvs-7.
Now the Holosun 403 on the Geisley 1.93 mount.
There's the dot. The problem is you're getting a little bit of a light refraction inside of the Holosun body because maybe it's because it's small. Let me try the stock back. Much better. Yeah, I'm actually seeing the LED emitter from inside the housing.
I've had that too.
Yep, reflecting into this from this micro Holosun. So that's the circle dot inside of this.
Yep.
Problem is it's getting so bright now. I mean, I can turn it down, but with that extra ring, it's causing even more of that internal body reflection that's kind of skewing my vision.
Yeah.
So let me turn it down. There's on the lower setting. It's not you know, obscuring it as much. I can see the reticle, but there is definitely a body blur. pvs-7, I basically have to cant the rifle at an angle to get into the, ooh, that's really good right there. So right there, basically an angle cant, and it's got to kind of stick into my jawbone to do so. And I don't really have much of a good shoulder pocket. pvs-7, still not that good, even with a 193 on a micro dot. Still not that good. None of these so far have been even slightly optimal with this 7.
This is the AccuPower 1-4 with the forward canted Arasaka RMR combo on the low plate.
This is forward RMR canted, which hopefully will help the blur issue I had on the rear RMR canted. So pvs-7, forward canted. There she is. So I'm kind of hitting. I got to tuck way down in the angle. This one's surprisingly probably the most useful so far. You absolutely, the forward RMR seems to be essential, and nothing light on the body of the RMR because FDE, or that plastic solar housing on the solar RMR, is reflecting inside of here and washing out my view of the background. I can't see my terrain. So far, this is usable. I just wish it was higher. If it was right up here, wherever that is, so it needs to be right there.
That's like 2 inches off of it.
Yeah. If it was right here, bingo. Mainly because it's a 7. Again, this is centered, so I need it to come up a little higher to reach that center point at an angle than I would if it was just a pvs-14 or a dual. So, let's see here. There she is. The best so far. Lord have mercy if I had to run that. No thanks.
Up next, the current hotness.
So I really don't want to like this. I want to hate it. This is the Unity 226 mount.
It's an aimpoint T2 on a Unity 2.26 mount.
Yeah, that's a lot of 2s and T's and 2s. So let's see. Well, fucking surprise, surprise.
It works, doesn't it?
It works. I have a minimal bit of, you know, outer ring blur. Yeah, so, you know, I think this is Gen 2 green fuzz inside of this pvs-7. It's kind of usable. I'm still getting a bit of a body, or you know, a blur obstructing my background view. It could be because of that light.
We blocked the distant light behind me, which wasn't bright by any means. It was just enough to reflect off the back of the optic housing.
But that's real life scenario, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you may be backlit a little bit when you're shooting.
Yeah, you could be backlit. So far, the T2 is the best.
Yep, try
Let
now.
me move your head that way a little bit. Right there. That is better for sure.
So having backlighting obscured doesn't give you the problem you were just having a second ago.
Yeah, it definitely gets rid of some of the obstruction. But to be honest, I just really think the angle of this pvs-7 having to, you know, mess with that centerline front tube is making tons of body blur inside of the optics. It's a pain in the ass. T2, most usable with the Unity 226 so far with pvs-7s.
Now we get to the first top-mounted red dot LPVO combo, the Reptilia adapter with an RMR up top to the rear.
So I think this maybe being forward in this position would be a little better just because of that body blur when an RMR or a red dot is too close to your nod.
Fair enough.
The top of this AccuPoint dial for the illumination, the tritium and the fiber, it does cause a little bit of a blur, I think, in most nods. So far, this is working sweet. Top, it's higher up like the T2 mount. This is a 2-to-1 obviously again, but I'll tell you what, this Reptilia is by far the best with the pvs-7. I think it has to do with that center line. It's also super high. And there's not a bunch of junk body around this RMR making, you know, my background view blurry whatsoever. So far, for you that are running these old pvs-7s, top-mounted RMR. I bet if you got an even bigger, like an SRO, or you know, something with a bigger objective lens, it'd probably be even better, and a little higher. I wouldn't be surprised if the higher mount wouldn't be just even a little bit better for these pvs-7s, especially when I go forward. Look, right here. I don't know how far I am if you can see. Kind of blurry trash. I'm seeing the AccuPoint body right here blurring my view. If I come up and over and get closer, there's almost nothing obstructing my view right now. I could totally run this whatever position you see it in. It's probably up against the RMR, isn't it?
It's no, it's not up against it. You're basically resting that tube right now on top of the dial for the AccuPoint.
Hey, that I'll tell you what, that's not that bad. I'll do it again, watch. That's fucking perfect. There's nothing obstructing my view. I could take a shot clear across this property. With a little bit of splash from external lighting, there's some weird spots, but all in all, that's totally usable. There you go, pvs-7 people. High top-mounted centerline RMR.
Now the EOTech EXPS3 on a Unity riser with the flip-down magnifier from Unity attached to see if it hinders the nods in any way while mounted.
I'm going to see if there's a real big difference between the night vision button on the EXPS and just running it on the lowest setting. First, I'll start with the lowest setting because we can immediately switch it to the night vision. So, move this cord. If I keep hitting down, it actually just disappears. So, I'm going to start clicking up from the bottom. 1, I can see 1 barely. 2, faint, but I can see it. 3, pretty perfect for night if you want to take accurate shots. 4, 5, 6, maybe 5 or 6 from the bottom is super sick with an EOTech. So I can see it with the pvs-7s. I'm resting around the back of the Unity magnifier. A little blurry, probably not as good as the Reptilia up top of the LPVO you had. Let's try the night vision setting. Ooh, that's bright. Turning it all the way down. I lied, it was already on the night vision setting. So the lowest setting on the regular non-night vision is usable. I can see all my cars, I can see everything. See the fence out back, trees, tree trunk. I can see everything. So on the night vision mode, you can actually go all the way out and bottom down, you can't even see the reticle. But on the lowest setting on regular and emergency, if you just start with it down, pinch it down real fast, it's still usable. The pvs-7 does rest on the Unity mount. I can see the reticle. It's not optimal, but it is usable. It's definitely usable. I'd say this is probably ranked second. It probably goes, as of now, Reptilia, top center mount, this EOTech on the Unity riser, and then the T2 on the Unity riser in third place so far. Let me check, see what this magnifier looks like just for shits. Let me turn on night vision. Is this magnifier usable? Let's line it up. Well, I'm gonna take the cap off first.
Nah, who would think that would matter?
That's what the smart people do. I can see the reticle. I can see stuff, but at night it's too dark. Today was overcast, which I filmed. There's no moon out. Yeah, not using this magnifier for any distance shots by any means. But this does not have to be taken off with a pvs-7. A slight can't. Right there. Bing, bing, bing. Usable.
Last is an Acog with the rear-mounted RMR up top. This setup is over 20 years old, so is it still viable?
This is just the standard piggyback position that comes with an Acog. pvs-7. Oh, I can see it. I am hitting something. Am I just hitting the Acog? Or
You're tapping the back of the RMR.
The RMR?
You're tapping the, or maybe, yeah, you're tapping the very, it's like your tube is resting on the top of the RMR.
So, with a pvs-7, it makes sense why early on the military adopted this piggyback RMR, especially during early GWAT. A lot of pvs-7s running around, that's what I used. This works. I can, surprise, surprise, another inline optic works with the pvs-7s.
Yeah. I mean,
would you be surprised at that? Ironically, this is going to sound really weird, but when I rest the nod there, this is by far the best so far. This is now first place, then the Reptilla, then the EOTech, and then the T2. Those so far are the best. Now, just keeping this lined up is a little funky. Seems like once you rest it on there, once I get it on, I'm good. But I mean, as soon as recoil hits, I might lose this bad boy.
Is your pvs-7 meant to have shit keep bumping it too?
Yeah.
You know what I mean, like under recoil and stuff like that. Probably not a massive deal.
So I'll tell you another note why I'm looking through this. Don't get the FDE RMRs. Every time I push this out, if there's any type of ambient light coming in on your weapon, it totally turns this into a white marshmallow. I can still see the dot, but the marshmallow is so big. If somebody was standing in front of it, I wouldn't be able to make out their body. So far back, it's blowing out, blowing out, blowing out. It's disappearing, it's disappearing, it's gone.
Yeah, but if you can see right now where you're at, you literally, it's like you just stuck that RMR to the front of your fucking tube.
Yep, well I'll tell you what, this is completely the clearest of all options so far.
But that's also going to be not very sustainable depending on how you've held it there.
Stock back. Yeah, this is so hard to acquire perfectly. I don't think in a pinch under a barricade if I'm shooting this way. Actually, that's usable. If I had to come opposite arm.
Again, 12 o'clock is where shit needs to be for night vision.
That's usable. That's totally usable sideways. So right now, let me see about this. One last thing. I want to see this prone talk. A lot of times the people say in the prone, it's not usable.
Right there.
Yep, it's usable. pvs-7 in the prone, RMR up top, usable. Right there. Now, if I come forward, right there. I'm definitely bending my neck a bit, but it's totally usable. I can take a shot. Yep, right there. Now, if I had to shoot upward towards a hill, not usable. So, basically, if you're horizontal or shooting down, completely fine. Once you start to cant up, yeah, not happening. But that's already hard just with regular optics. So, yep. pvs-7, usable in the prone with a piggyback RMR. So far, really good with pvs-14 or 7s.
In conclusion, if you own or plan to own a pvs-7, the optimal night vision setup is a higher centerline red dot of some kind. This video was just to narrow down which optic setup is actually usable before we can actually put them to use on a live fire range to see which one reigns supreme. Just because these had a great view from a static position doesn't mean they're actually usable in awkward angles. This at least lets us know which ones can actually be seen and are usable. So far, centerline optics with a higher mount were the most usable with this pvs-7. Again, this video was not about the day optic really being usable under nods, rather which optic combo supports a user-friendly night option. Yes, IR lasers eliminate this mess altogether, but that's not what we're trying to test. Even though the Acog top RMR combo had the best view, it did require a close contact to the RMR, risking inconsistent sight acquisition. Too far back and some of the view was blurry around the optic, and 2, the recoil will instantly steal your sight picture. If the Reptilla option wasn't on the AccuPoint, it may have been even better. The dial up top for illumination actually causes some blur, which is actually unique to this optic. You can see here that it was actually pitch black outside, so any backlighting was just a distant backlighting we factored into our view. The T2 and EOTech have probably the most forgiving use as far as acquiring a good sight picture under nods, no surrounding blur, but do sacrifice some day advantages at distance without a magnifier. Just don't forget to remove your caps or turn them down so they don't obstruct your view using the T2. Because this video was longer than expected to give you a live perspective, check out part 3 where we use the dual tube RNVG to see if any of these optic setups have improved sight pictures, and maybe consider avoiding FDE optics for night use. Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll stay around for more videos coming soon to a YouTube search near you.